Hey again, I'm Clark Davis with ScholarshipAuditions.com, and we are here at the beautiful campus of the University of Miami yet again, and we're here for episode number 2 of the Professionalism of Collegiate Performing Fine Arts Recruiting. You know, I'm an avid reader. It's one of my favorite pastimes, and right now I'm reading The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, and I've got to share with you one of my favorite passages. It said, "Did you ever consider how ridiculous it would be to cram on a farm? To forget to plant in the spring, play all summer, and then cram in the fall to try to bring in the harvest. The price must be paid and the process followed. You always reap what you sow. There is no shortcut." And you know, I'd take a gamble to say that Dr. Stephen Moore would agree with us when it comes to recruiting. You just can't cram. So come on, let's walk the campus and continue the conversation. You know, it takes years to plant seeds and reap a harvest. These beautiful palm trees didn't go from tiny little seeds to the magnificent trees that they are today in a matter of weeks, but it took years. And it's the same way for recruiting. It takes years. You know, when recruiting students to your program, it's important to keep in mind that you're primarily recruiting sophomores and juniors. By the time senior year rolls around, a lot of students have already been a part of the recruiting process, and there's only a small window when a senior can become a prospective student. By the time senior year is there, most students have already considered their dreams, their options, and their choices. Dr. Moore is an authority in recruiting and reaping a harvest, so let's head over to the Frost School of Music and find Dr. Moore now. Dr. Moore.
Hi, Clark.
Hey, do you have a minute?
Come on in, please. Have a seat.
All right, well, I'm here because I want to keep talking about the fundamentals of music recruiting.
Yes.
You know, in our last episode, you had mentioned that in order to have a successful program, to have a quality program, you had to have quality departments surrounding, like it was, what was the word? Interdisciplinary, right?
Interrelated.
Interrelated, okay. And so with that, I want to sum it up. Are you saying that it takes a village to raise a child?
Yes, and I'm saying it actually takes a good village to raise a child well. And so it takes a great team of faculty, staff, administration, all the different components at the university to really bring in a terrific freshman class. It's important to prioritize personnel and put that at the top of your list. When I was at Colorado State in 2000, there had not been a director of band since, well, 14 years before I got there. So there's a few things on my to-do list to get done. And each day I would try to put personnel at the top of the list. So as an administrator, I can say that one of my goals with faculty and staff, because they're busy, you know, is to try to reduce the administrivia, whatever that is, to allow room for recruiting. Because faculty and staff, of course, are core fundamentals in recruiting.
They certainly are at the core of any great program. But the core of me right now is saying that I am parched. So is there anywhere where we could get something to drink?
Yes, I know just a place.
Let's go.
Let's go. Hey, Clark.
Hey, Dr. Moore.
Always good to have a smoothie.
Always. Okay, so you were saying you can have the knowledge, you can have the talent, you can have the leadership, everything. But at the end of the day, you can't recruit alone.
Right, well, of course, one person can make a difference, but it's rarely that one person does everything. So it's really important, of course, to have a great team of people, and that would include your admissions team, your administration, your faculty, and even the students.
Yeah, fantastic. I know that foundation's important, especially in music school. You know, at the University of Kentucky, I never would have passed any music theory class had I not already had that solid foundation and understanding of music.
Exactly. The fundamentals are critical. You know, we expect the music students to know their fundamentals, their scales, their arpeggios, their etudes, like you just discussed. But it's also important for us to have our fundamentals in recruiting as well. And one of those is an open line of communication, you know, and that's with everybody that's on the team. You know, the legendary UCLA basketball coach, and I know you know basketball being from Kentucky, John Wooden, one of the things he was known for saying is, if you don't have the time to do it right, when are you going to have the time to do it over? And this is the way I feel about recruiting, of course. You know, when you're building a quality music program, it's fundamental to do the appropriate recruiting to build the quality.
Right, and I understand that you're a key player here at the Frost School of Music. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, it's a great team that we have here. You always have your admissions people. You have the Office of Financial Assistance. They're critical to this entire process, of course. Your ensemble directors, your applied faculty, your staff. Sometimes the academic faculty are highly involved as well. And then it's really important to have those students because they're really a great voice for your program.
He's a big deal, and we're gonna keep touring around the Frost School of Music to find out a little bit more about recruiting here.
Socrates is attributed with saying that the beginning of knowledge is the definition of terms.
Wow, Socrates, we've just elevated everything so much. Well, I am ready to begin on my path to wisdom of learning these terms and their definitions. So let's go.
Let's start with prospective students. And in order for a student to be a prospective student, for our purposes, we really need to know their name and their contact information, their instrument or voice, what they're interested in, what's their area of interest, and their year of graduation.
Gotcha.
Otherwise, they're just, browsing the website or we meet them. Otherwise, they're not truly a prospective student. The next is the pre-screen. And this is a term where it applies to students who have submitted their application, their secondary application, and then they usually have an online video and audio of their playing, or perhaps it could be their portfolio or perhaps a writing sample. These are then evaluated in advance of the regular auditions, and students are either invited to audition, or they're admitted, or they're denied.
Gotcha. So
They could be put on a wait list too.
Okay, but that whole process is called the pre-screening process.
Correct.
Gotcha, okay.
Well, the next thing, of course, are applicants. And an applicant is a student who has completed their application to the university as well as their secondary application. And almost all schools of music or departments of music require a secondary application.
Yeah, I had to do that at the University of Kentucky. I had to apply for UK as a whole, and then I had to apply for the music program.
And then the next step is a student who is then auditioned, and then they are evaluated. And if they're a really great fit, then they become admitted. So now they're an admit, and they have been accepted or admitted to your program and to your university. Well, once they've been admitted, obviously we want them to enroll and to matriculate. So matriculations are students who have accepted the offer of admission. Usually they've paid a deposit, and it's often by the May 1st deadline.
What do we got next?
Well, one of our least favorite words is summer melt.
Oh, because it's like 1,000,000 degrees, because it's the University of Miami, right?
Well,
Summer melt.
actually this is a term used all over the country.
Really?
Right, and this is when, a student, even though they've matriculated, they melt away after the end of the spring semester at their high school and then before the fall semester begins.
That's not what we want. We don't want people to melt away.
And that can be minimized with great communication and making sure you have a good fit. Well, the admit rate is something we want to track, right? So the admit rate is the percentage of applicants who are admitted. So in other words, if you have 100 applicants, 50% are admitted, half of them, then you have a 50% admit rate. So the yield rate is the number or the percentage of students who actually matriculate after they've been admitted.
Okay.
So in our example, we had 100 students who applied,
Yep.
and we admitted 50 of them, and then if 20 of those 50 matriculate or enroll, then our yield rate, 20 out of 50, is 40%.
Gotcha. Okay. I went to school for music, not math, but I think I've got this.
Yes, I'm sure you do. And then the last one is the draw rate. This is not used that often, except for often by admissions professionals. But it's a good one to know because the draw rate is the yield rate divided by the admit rate. The yield rate divided by the admit rate. Now, why would we want to know that? Well, because if you just have a lot of students, let's say you increase your applicants, but they're not the type of student who are likely to enroll, then it's not helping you. It's just going to lower your yield rate. So the draw rate sort of helps you keep track of that. In other words, if you had 50, if your yield rate was 50% and your admit rate is 50%, then your draw rate is 1. And the higher the draw rate, the better.
Okay. So this one I'm a little fuzzy. Can you give me an example, like real life example?
Okay, well, we all know Harvard, and I've read that their draw rate is 14.
Okay.
A typical draw rate I've read is more around 0.6.
Oh, wow.
So, the higher the better. And again, it's the yield rate divided by your admit rate.
Okay. These are the fundamentals here. I'm taking great notes. What are we on next?
Discount rate is a common term, is the percentage of the tuition, the total tuition that's covered by scholarships or grants.
We love scholarships.
Right. So if you add up all your tuition, and let's say you're covering half of that, then your discount rate is 50%. And then there is the cost of attendance. Cost of attendance is the cost of going to school for 1 year, which typically includes tuition, fees, books, housing, food, transportation, and miscellaneous expenses.
Yeah, it adds up quick for sure. And I think we've got one more term, so why don't you take it home for us?
Well, it's a good idea to kind of track the metrics that your university administration values. And that could be different in different places. It could be the yield rate, it could be the admit rate, it could be GPAs, grade point averages, it could be test scores like the ACT or the SAT. There's a number of things that would be good to make sure that you're a really fantastic contributor to the overall institutional health.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, we whizzed through all of these definitions. Thank you so much. And Dr. Moore, your expertise and experience is just invaluable. Thank you so much.
Thank you for helping me, Clark.
Alrighty. I've just left Dr. Moore, and boy, do I have some studying to do. So with that, this is the conclusion of Session 2 of the Professionalism of Collegiate Performing Fine Arts Recruiting, brought to you by ScholarshipAuditions.com.